Hi, and welcome back to the Raw Experience. This is Karen Blinsky Matheson from the Naked Grief.
And I'm Melissa Bishop from Wholehearted Studio. We're exploring grief and life's complex emotions through the lens of friends to help you recognize and heal your own invisible losses.
Today's episode we are calling The Day Humiliation Visited, better known as the Friends episode entitled The One with the Butt. So, just to kind of recap or refresh everyone's memory, it's primarily focused around three characters. We have Joey, who is doing his Freud musical play that did not get great reviews, and it's Rachel's first play to watch him in, which is, I think, kind of important. Um, he does get an agent out of this debut, though, which is amazing for him. And Chandler sees the most beautiful woman that he has ever seen, and goes through the hesitation process of asking her for a date. And then we learn a little bit more about Monica and her obsessive need for cleaning and organizing. So, Melissa, where do you really want to start on this? Should we start with Chandler's emotional journey?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out first that some of the things we're going to be looking at through this episode is themes around vulnerability, self-worth, and reclaiming personal value, and how seemingly small moments reveal deep emotional patterns. I want to say that again because sometimes we miss these. How seemingly small moments reveal deep emotional patterns.
That's actually a good point. And we'd love to hear back from you guys too, because there are certain moments throughout all of these episodes that are pivotal, especially with Ross, identifying those moments with him in particular that could have saved him from his big my sandwich breakdown in future seasons, and his pivot, 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 not about the couch. It's him screaming at himself that he needs to make some changes. He needed to pivot. And us recognizing these things together, I think his story would have just had a much different outcome. But Chandler is kind of the focus in these early seasons with his personal struggles, and there's a reason why he circles back to Janice on a regular, and why he questions things and has the behaviors that he has. He is extremely insecure. That's part of why he has his satire and his sarcasm and his comedic breaks. Um, it's to alleviate some of that insecurity pressure. But he sees this woman who is, in his opinion, way out of his league,
Yeah.
and doesn't even know how he would approach her. And Rachel says, "Come on, she's just a person." And then Phoebe says something like, "There's a lot of women out there that have nothing men, and you could be one of those guys." So he goes up to her and he does twist his tongue and gets all foot in mouth.
Yeah.
I I think he even does the introduction so that he says his name backwards, or it doesn't flow, and she finds that charming.
Endearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cute.
And then of course she also, because she's European, says his name a little funny, like Chandler or something. And he's like, "I just like it better, so everybody can call me it that way." But so that's where we're at. So I've done a lot of babbling. So
Yeah. So, he starts this relationship with what he finds out is a married woman. Now, of course, she's upfront about this, right? And he goes into this thinking, okay, this will be fun, and this will be something I'll enjoy. But then as the relationship kind of continues, and then she adds another person into the loop, right? So he becomes what I think the fourth one or in the wheel
yeah.
of days, right? He starts having these deep, profound emotions around like maybe I'm not enough. Am I settling for a partial connection? Um, these emotional self protection mechanisms start coming up, and the grief of feeling unworthy of a full commitment really starts weighing heavy on him.
Yep.
And so many of us, I think, can relate to things like this, just about like this can be brought up in just like common dating, right? Like you start hitting it off with someone and then they go the other direction, and you're like, well, hell, what was wrong? What happened with me? This is like a very teachable like coaching moment for me, where I talk a lot about communication, where sometimes we need to communicate with people that we're not aligned, rather than just walking away, because it does leave people feeling like there's something wrong with them, even if you're confident as hell. It can still hurt.
Oh, absolutely. And it can knock you down a lot of rungs, maybe even off the ladder completely, if a proper discussion isn't had.
Right.
Because yeah, understanding and recognizing the alignment being off is way different than somebody just losing interest or replacing you with something or someone else. But that's also there's also those other things like the self sabotage.
Hmm.
I It was brought to my attention not that long ago, like a year or two ago, that I've had that pattern, and a lot of it is a protection mode, and was part of why Chandler stayed with this Aurora lady, because it was easier than in going head first into a true relationship. He knew the limitations. He didn't have to fully commit. He didn't have to bare his soul, so to speak. It was a physical relationship that he could stay a little bit more guarded with, and at first was comfortable until he realized that he wanted or deserved more. But that self-sabotage piece is pretty huge, and I think when we really do some self-reflection, there are moments throughout a lot of our lives where we've had those self-sabotage moments, whether it's been in a dating relationship, a friend relationship, or even at work.
Hmm.
There are moments when you could be up for a promotion and have managed to make yourself overlooked, whether it's from inadvertently or unintentionally being late enough to lose being in line for something, because
Yeah.
maybe you're afraid of what that next success would look like, or that next love relationship would look like, or getting that next best friend would look like.
Yeah, I also wanted to talk about, before this, we kind of did a little prep work for folks, and we were kind of discussing some things. And Karen brought up something that I found very relatable, in that um, sometimes we don't break this cycle of emotional compromise because we're afraid of losing, even if it's not exactly what we have, because then what are we going to replace it with? Right? You had that conversation with me. Like, okay, so I don't think this is fully working, but then it's better than nothing. But then if you don't break that cycle, then I feel a lot of times we're blocking that bigger thing from coming in. That that connection that may be more profound and more willing to make that commitment. But sometimes it's hard to say, okay, I'd rather stand alone than take something that isn't giving me fully what I want.
So part of the answer to that is understanding that any type of grief is love that has nowhere to go. And when I say that, it's real easy to think of relationship love. But again, it can be anything. It can be love of home, love of pet, love of job, love of vehicle, whatever that looks like for that. And creating something to fill that space, not replace, but to fill, is one of the ways people can learn how to heal. Because if you stay stuck and you have this big empty void, it's easy to fall into a hole or spiral or not find a new outlet. So an episode or two ago, we talked about some of the things that I personally did during COVID, like painting.
Mhm.
It was something that filled my time. It became a new passion. It was a new quote love. Again, it doesn't have to be a person. It can be an activity. Um, Not to call somebody famous out, but Sharon Osbourne's done that. She got into falconry since Ozzy's death, and she's doing it with one or both of her kids. It's amazing. And these video footages is just so cool. She's found something to help fill her heart space a little bit. It's a lot better than sitting home and sulking the absence of somebody that's been a part of your life for so long. And that's important, folks. Like there's just different ways to work through. And for Chandler to recognize that he wanted more and to have the courage to speak up and to speak honestly. Like why can't it just be me? He tells her this and he says it so eloquently. Like why can't she just ditch the other three and just have me? And then he kind of realizes that it's not him.
Mhm.
It's her. She doesn't know how to just do one person.
Right. So he has to honor her space and honor his space and accept that. But I think the biggest tip here is, right, folks, if you're grieving or you lose something, find something else to pivot into so that you don't fall into a depressive state or a stagnation. Do we want to move on to Joey?
Yeah, butt acting. That's always fun. So Joey gets his big break. He's about to be Al Pacino's butt, which, as we remember, everybody jokes about him cracking his way into show business, and are we going to be invited to the big opening? But it's a big deal. He's about to be cast in a movie, and he's in the shower scene, but he's overacting with butt clenches.
Right. That's so cute. But he's also seeing potential in what others are ridiculing. He's putting his all into something, hoping for something bigger. So I think it's one of those times where gratitude really comes into play because a lot of times we don't really have great gratitude for the little things that show up for us too. We're always looking for those big moments. So this is a reflection on there's those small moments of gratitude that we need to recognize too.
Right, but then where he really falls is when he gets fired for overacting with his butt. He feels like he missed his big break, and he's grieving what he thinks is a missed opportunity. And I think it's Phoebe who steps up and says, "No, I think you get more than one shot, and when it's your true shot, you know it." And this wasn't it. This was this was the introduction to what could happen, but it's not. She said eventually one day somebody else is going to be saying, "Guess what? Guess what? I'm playing Joey Tribbiani's butt." She said somebody's going to be wanting to be you, and you'll know when your time comes. And as we know, Joey gets more than one break,
Mhm.
and that's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, and acting's hard.
Yeah.
It's one of those jobs that hey, if you get recognized and can be seen, you're seen. But there are so many people that long for and strive for that never become a household name. And them showing this in a character on a TV show, I think is kind of cool. And we have respect for his journey. And even on a side note, shoot, when he auditioned for Friends, I think it's told that he had $11 in his pocket to his name. And that's pretty cool that they made him the actor because he knew what it was really like to struggle in real life.
Yeah.
So I think in an episode like this really resonated with both the character and the actor, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So he used some form of um, transforming humiliation into personal growth, and he maintained enthusiasm even over something small,
And he
which is
had
so endearing with Joey. It's like everybody else is kind of like, and he's like, "Yeah, I got this role," and like he puts his all into it, regardless.
And he had a strong support system. Even though they joked in the beginning about cracking his way into show business, like they were still excited for him. But even more importantly, when he didn't keep the role, the support system didn't fail him. They encouraged him and helped pick him back up. Because again, when you're starving to get auditions, let alone jobs, you you can't get stagnant. So having a support system that'll help keep you from falling is so important. And luckily, he has a good group of friends.
Yeah. Are we ready to move to Monica's control narrative? This is
Yeah.
so
So,
much fun.
yeah, absolutely. So the way we see it to this episode is the guys all walk into their apartment, and Rachel greets them with "Ta-da!" And Chandler says, "Is that how we're greeting each other now? I like it." And she goes, "No, I cleaned." And then we watch Monica get all scrunchy and squirmy and uncomfortable because things aren't the way she likes it. And we really get introduced to Monica's controlling side of things and her neat freak side.
Yeah, which underneath, right, is related to the the lack of emotional connection with her parents, and control is part of her healing mechanism, and uh, she creates safety through this meticulous management of things.
Yeah. In fact, it's actually interesting. I find myself doing a lot of these things. I'm turning into Monica. So I was telling Melissa earlier today, like I've been taking control of things around the house because it's very therapeutic to be in control of something. So to be able to change the way something looks, whether it's doing a little bit of gardening or a touch up paint on a wall or just moving furniture around, it's control that you have when certain things in your life may not be under your control. And that's what Monica does. And it's interesting because the more we focus on Friends, the more I see some of these different traits in these characters
Right.
coming out in me. Just I think because we're talking about it so much. But yeah, with the way Monica is obsessive about things being in their place, paying bills when she should,
Mhm.
not getting those late notices, not allowing water to sweat and drip onto the wood without a coaster. Like all of these little factors that again are controllable factors. She definitely freaks out. And one of the things that we find while the friends are all calling her out in these things is Ross explaining, well, your mom. So as much as she has these differences with her own mother and how her mother picks on her so much, she's still trying to be like her mom. That's kind of fascinating in itself.
Yeah, well, she wants to feel worthy. She wants to feel that emotional support that she doesn't get from them. She wants to be seen. If I do it perfect enough, then maybe they'll see me as perfection, because her parents tend to be super critical of her.
And then she even tries to correct this by leaving her shoes just thrown askew in the main living space. But then she's laying in bed trying to sleep, and it's bugging her to no end that her shoes are not where they should be. And she's debating, should I move them and then wake up early and put them back where I left them? No, because then everybody's going to know. And then she recognizes that like she definitely is what's the word I'm looking for?
Controlling, meticulous,
Obsessed?
OCD.
Yeah, I mean she definitely recognizes that she's got a quirk. I mean, and she talks to Richard about this in future seasons. Like I can't remember what she calls herself. A freak? Something where like she knows that she is a little more than what most people are when it comes to being clean and organized and orderly. But That's also because she always wants to be the hostess. She always wants things ready for visitors. She always has the stock fridge. She always has, like, the place settings on the table so that the guys can just come over and sit down and grab something from the fridge to eat. Like, she wants to be that person. She was a mom before she was ever a mom. She wanted to be the house that all the kids went to.
Well, she was giving the nurturing she didn't get.
Right.
That was her healing mechanism.
Which we even see in the early stages of all these different guys that she's introduced us to in these first few episodes. She just wants to make everybody happy. And I don't know. I guess the question I would ask Monica is, does it make you happy? Because if she's the type of person that's actually being fulfilled by others' joy, because there are people out there like that, um, then that's amazing. But if she's doing this because there's just a big void and she's trying to find ways to fill it, then maybe we need to look at other activities that
Yeah.
would fill her heart space a little better.
Help her find some balance.
Yeah.
So, folks, we have some questions for you to ponder and maybe comment on in the comment section. So, when have you found pride in moments others might consider humiliating, like Joey did? And how do you reclaim your worth when feeling not enough? And then, what small spaces of control have helped you heal?
And then some closing thoughts. We have the vulnerability paradox, how strength emerges through moments of apparent weakness, and how healing is not linear. Growth comes through unexpected experiences. And we want to invite you to join our Raw Experience Circle for deeper exploration of all of these themes. And just so you know, what the Raw Experience Circle does is it combines my Grief Wisdom Circle platform and Melissa's Spirit Wisdom Circle platform so that you get a combined blend of physical, mental, and spiritual healing so that it helps encompass everything that you need on whatever your journey is, whether it's grief through loss of a person, through death or otherwise, job transition, or any other piece of disenfranchised grief. It's a way to find balance again.
Yeah, so we will see you in the next episode, and we're going to be exploring the the day darkness fell, which is the blackout episode.
We'll see you next time.